So what's the real story behind that picture? We'll talk about it. How's everybody doing? My name is Anthony Brian Logan, and today we got to talk about the death of a 30-year-old black male by the name of Jordan Neely, who was well known as a Michael Jackson impersonator on the New York subway system. Now, apparently he was having a mental health breakdown. We'll talk about that a little bit later. And passengers of the subway came to restrain him. He was screaming at people, threatening people or whatever. Several passengers came to restrain him. Now, there was a 24-year-old white male, a Marine. I'm not sure if he was active or a veteran or whatever. He had got behind him and put him in a chokehold for about 15 minutes. And unfortunately, after the chokehold was over, they realized that he had died. Okay, so may he rest in peace. I don't know if it was a chokehold specifically or if it was a chokehold plus other things going on, but regardless of what, he was in a chokehold 15 minutes, and afterwards, he's gone. Now, there's all kind of protests and whatnot as a result of this, but first, let's take a look at what he had been known for. Okay, obviously, there's not going to be music here because Michael Jackson, I'm not trying to get flagged, but this is what he was known for. Now, I'm reading that he has not done this act in quite a while, but you're going to see this all over the news. You're going to say, you know, he's Michael Jackson impersonator. That's what he did. He was on the subway, just having fun, trying to entertain people. You're going to hear that, but you're not going to hear the full story. And I'm here today to bring you the full and entire story. You got a lot of people that have spoken out against this. AOC's talking about he's been murdered, all type of stuff. There is quite a bit going on. You have people that are out there protesting the actual the death out there on the subway.
Justice for Jordan Neely! Justice for Jordan Neely! Justice for Jordan Neely! Justice for Jordan Neely! Justice for Jordan Neely!
So you get the idea. They're out there, they're protesting, and people are really upset that he died. This could be the next Black Lives Matter person because, you know, they enjoyed them a dead black man because they can raise a bunch of money and then they can feel good about themselves. But much different story. I digress. Here is an article about Eric Adams kind of, you know, saying, hey, AOC, don't just say this was a murder. You don't really know the full story. I'm not sure if the guy that did the chokehold will face charges. They're looking into it from the Manhattan DA's office. We know how woke they are. He could face charges. And before I get into this article, this is part of the reason why I say sometimes you probably shouldn't even intervene, especially in a place like New York City where the laws might not be in your favor, because assaulting somebody, if they are shoplifting, is really a good thing because they're doing wrong. You're trying to stop a shoplifter. You're trying to stop a theft from happening. All right. You're not just trying to assault the person, but somebody might say, hey, you assaulted that person. And then you might get brought up on charges, and all for the people to not even be prosecuted for the actual shoplifting over there in California. And there was a case in New York City where they're trying to charge, I think it might have been an off-duty cop or a security guard or something like that. They're trying to charge him with assault for tackling the guy that was shoplifting. So you got to kind of understand where you are and is it even worth it to intervene? And in this case, it's much worse because the chokehold apparently resulted in the guy dying. So this is something that you got to really think about if you want to do it or not. Okay, let's not share it on Facebook. We're not going to go do that. So let's go ahead and check out the article here. Again, I will link to this in the description, of course, if you want to see it and read it for yourself. But Eric Adams has ripped Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez for rushing to conclude that Jordan Neely was, quote unquote, murdered when he was put in a chokehold by a Marine. His honor, critiqued the progressive lawmaker along with city comptroller Brad Lander, who claimed people were cheering how the troubled 30-year-old homeless man was choked to death by a vigilante without consequence. So apparently the guy was homeless, the Michael Jackson impersonator. Again, he has not done that act in quite a while from what I'm reading, and he had mental problems, which they're admitting right here. Is pretty clear. And I'm not sure about the cheering. I saw the full video. If you want to see that, I'll link to it in the description. I can't play it right here on the YouTube, obviously. They're going to flag it right away. but the cheering was not audible. I think people were just kind of relieved that this guy who was acting the fool was under some restraint. And again, if we go back to the very first picture, you see the Marine behind him, but also you see another guy restraining his arms. And this guy right here does not appear to be white. Okay, but they just want to say it's the white man this, white man that. Anyway, I digress. Let's continue. Quote, I don't think that's very responsible at the time where we are still investigating the situation, Adams said on CNN primetime late Wednesday when asked about both inflammatory tweets. Quote, let's let the DA conduct this investigation. Oh, man, that's not necessarily a good thing right there. You're talking about Alvin Bragg, I suppose, right? Let's let the DA conduct his investigation with the law enforcement officials. To really interfere with that is not the right thing to do. I'm not going to be responsible and allow them to do their job and allow them to determine exactly what happened here, the mayor stressed. The rush to conclusions was particularly irresponsible from Landers, who started his tweet by saying that, quote, NYC is not Gotham, unquote, because the comptroller is a citywide leader. So that's the video right there. Again, if you want to see it, I'll link to it in the box. I cannot play it right here on YouTube. You see this picture right here cropped out. Okay, you see the guy in the chokehold and the guy behind him, but you won't see the face of the other person. You might not even know that it's another guy holding his arms because all you see is his two faces right here. You might not even recognize there's another hand right here holding his arms down. Clearly, the guy was having some kind of episode, mental health, just fallout. All right. And it was an issue. So here's a tweet from AOC. Jordan Neely was murdered, but because Jordan was houseless, these words they use, I promise, but because Jordan was houseless and crying for food in a time when the city is raising rents and stripping services to militarize itself while many in power demonize the poor, the murderer gets protected with passive headlines and no charges. And this is completely irresponsible because even if you wanted the guy to get charged, you can't say there's no charges when they're still investigating. That's silly. Okay, that's totally silly. And again, people that were on the subway train that day knew that the guy who had been restraining the headlock was having some kind of breakdown, some kind of problem. And he was threatening people, yelling at people, screaming at people. And I think one of the things he was yelling is, I have no food, I have no water. It's like, okay, you might be hungry, but why are you yelling in my face? Why are you threatening me? Why are you screaming at me? All right. Why are you? And also the guy had like 40 other calls to authorities on him. So this guy has routinely been a menace on the subway platform, on the subway trains. The whole Michael Jackson impersonation thing, he has not done that, like I said, in a while. I'm not sure what's going on in his life, what caused the mental break, but the guy most certainly had mental problems. And this is part of the reason why I don't want to go to a place like New York City, because you got too many of these guys out there who do not have control of their mental capacity and who may cause you harm because they don't even know what's going on. But here's a tweet from Brad Lander, the comptroller. NYC is not Gotham. We must not become a city where a mentally ill human being can be choked to death by a vigilante without consequence, or where the killer is justified and cheered. And that's that. You know, there's more there. They want to call a white guy vigilante, all type of stuff. But at the end of the day, as I close, you got too many people that are just allowed to roam around, threaten people, act crazy. And when you want to step in and be the hero, when you want to step in and try to do the right thing, sometimes it might not go very well for you. I don't know if the chokehold was held too long. I don't know the ins and outs of that. But what I will say is that it's not right to label it a race thing, because there were blacks, whites, Hispanics, everybody that was right there who said the same thing. The guy was out of control, acting the fool. It's not about being black or whatever. It's about, okay, you're yelling, you're screaming, you're threatening people. So that's just what it is. You have the right to interfere, to intervene in that situation, according to the former NYC police chief. But does he under the current administration? Does he with the current DA? Does he with social media interfering? Does he with elected officials talking about the man who was choked was murdered? I think I'll leave that right there for now. And what say you? How do you feel about what happened here? Do you think that this was just way too far vigilante action? The guy should get locked up who did the chokehold? Or was it just probably a mistake, trying to legitimately just hold the guy down, not trying to hurt him, but then he got hurt? Whatever your thoughts are, let me know in the comments below. You guys know where I'm at. This was as simple as a guy on the subway acting the fool, and people that were around tried to stop him. That's it. And then it just went too far. So I don't know what the penalty is going to be if this, because the guy died. See, it's one thing just to be injured or just to be in that situation and it looks bad optically. He's dead. So I don't know what the result is. Do you charge him? Do you not charge him? If you don't charge him, is there going to be a reaction in the city? Are we talking about Black Lives Matter all over again? Hey, it's election time, and what better way to raise money for Black Lives Matter, not for you, but for Black Lives Matter and for the Democratic National Committee than a dead black man? This is the same old script they always do. Unfortunately, I wish it wasn't that way, but it is that way. And whatever your thoughts are, please let me know in the comments below. And that's all I got to say for this video. If you like what you heard, please comment, rate, share, and subscribe. Peace.